All right, guys, the time is here. Welcome to Spyrothon 7, and you happen to be here at a great time because you are about to see the best Spyro: A Hero's Tale TAS, the only TAS of this entire marathon made by Ebbe. And before we say anything more about it, I just want to say follow Spyrothon, show some love for your fellow chatter, and Ebbe, please take it away.
All right, welcome to this tool-assisted speedrun of Spyro: A Hero's Tale. And if you thought that Reignited Trilogy Spyro 1 80% was broken, just you wait. So I'm Ebbe, I played this game too much, and this is a tool-assisted speedrun. It's the only one in this event, so I should probably explain what it is. Basically, it's a demonstration of what a speedrun would look like if you had perfect reaction time, perfect reflexes, perfect knowledge, and perfect luck, and everything. And basically, it's just a demonstration of what a perfect speedrun would look like. I use save states and slowdown to make an input file that plays the game as fast as possible. A bunch of the stuff you're going to see is not humanly possible, so don't even bother trying it. So I think we're kind of ready. So I'll just count it down, and you could start the playback. So 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so this is the second TAS ever of this game. My first TAS was not very good, so don't watch it. But I made it back in 2019, and some sections of it was actually slower than the real-time speedrun. So... oh, it seems the audio is a bit loud. Anyway, but a big difference that you will immediately see is that if you've watched my old TAS, that I start the task by making a save file instead of just continuing the game without saving, which would be a bit faster, but I'm doing it to set up for a cutscene skip, which is happening much later in the run, which I'll explain once we get there. So I should probably start by saying that this game has a lot of unskippable cutscenes, and because we skip so much of the gameplay, we get to see mostly just those cutscenes. There's probably like 20 minutes of actual gameplay in here. But it is a bit of a blessing in disguise because it gives me more time to explain stuff. So yeah, if you haven't played this game, which I think is most of you, this game has 4 hub worlds or realms that you have to go through, and there's a boss at the end of each realm that you have to defeat in order to go on to the next realm. And the game expects you to go through a bunch of levels and destroy these dark gems in order to remove the barriers that block access to these bosses. But as you'll see, the game does a pretty laughably bad job at preventing you from just glitching past these barriers and getting directly into the bosses right away. So to skip to the very first boss in this game, which is Nasty Nork, he comes back. We do make use of a glitch called wall grinding, and it's basically a trick used to jump up walls infinitely high. And to do it, you charge down a wall, hold the jump button, and hold the left analog stick neutral. And what that will hopefully do, if the wall allows it, it will make Spyro jump on seemingly nothing. And if you keep doing that, you can reach basically as high as the wall goes. It's much easier to do with double jump, but since we don't have double jump from the start of the game, we won't unlock that for a long while. This task has to make do with single jump, which is much slower and much harder. But it's with tool-assisted speedrunning, it's not going to take that long. So we're just going to ignore the professor's advice and just dash back to this wall and just immediately start a wall grind, and Spyro is gonna ascend very quickly. And after we make it over this invisible wall to our left, we're gonna hit a loading trigger so that we load the area to Nasty Nork's lair, and then we're just gonna glide over to where he resides, and we're gonna charge into a specific part of the wall, which activates the cutscene. I don't know why you have to charge into this specific part of the wall to activate the cutscene. I tried many different things. That's the only way I could make it work. But yeah, here's another cutscene. You should get used to those. So anyway, this is Nasty Nork, and he's the first of the 4 bosses in the game. And the first 3 bosses in the game have a similar structure. There's it's basically a 3-phase fight. and each phase has 3 hits. 3 times you have to hit the boss. So for Nasty Nork, you have to hit him in the bum, of course. So what you'll see me do a lot is getting hit by the boss's attacks, because often getting hit by their attacks will skip these attacks, basically saving time. But that does mean that I do have to be mindful of my health during the fight, because otherwise, of course, I'll die. But thankfully, after every phase, there's a checkpoint. So as soon as the phase ends and the next phase starts, I can just die and regain my health, which has the added bonus of of skipping the first attack of that phase. So well, yeah. So these bosses have a lot of downtime. That's why you'll see me just kind of mess around a lot. I'll just dart around, charge in very weird ways, spam flame, and jitter, yeah. The classic TAS jittering of just alternating inputs every frame. So there's not a whole lot different to this fight than you see in RTA. I do try to get hit by Nasty's cane as fast as possible. You don't really get to see much of Nasty's attacks because I get hit by them to cancel them as soon as possible. So as you can see here in the start of phase 2, I get hit and die immediately. And here there are there are 5 attacks that I need to cancel, but I only have 4 extra hits to spend, so I do have to let 1 attack play out. The attack that you don't get to see here is the long, like, rock shower attack that he does sometimes. He slams the ground and a bunch of rocks fall from the ceiling. That takes a long time, so I make sure to skip those every time. But yeah, there's really not much else to this phase. So in the first phase, you actually maybe saw me get hit, would take some damage, which didn't really look like it did much. But that actually was so I started the next phase with 0 health, so no health, so I could die immediately. So you can also see, like, the way the flame breath of Spyro works is that he just emits a bunch of particles that stick around a bit. They have each their own physics, so I can just like kind of let some particles drift over to Nasty while I go around doing other things, and he'll still get hit. That'll be much more important in the last boss. Anyway, so the third phase has a bunch of electricity attacks, which you can't really skip those, so I just try to make them look as silly as possible, like dance around them like that. Anyway, so you might also have observed that every single time I die, a butterfly is spawned on the stage, and that will also come into play later on in the last boss phase. There is the only like optimization I could find like that actually does this boss faster than RTA, which is where I like charge in between his legs and avoid the electricity attacks. It's really precise, but you can hit him immediately after the attack ends. So yeah. So after this fight, you have to get out of Nasty's cave again. And to do that, you use your newly acquired electricity breath. We won't see much use of electricity breath until the very end of the run. There's a lot of stuff that only comes into play at the end of the run, but we'll get there when we get there. So we have to use the electricity breath to activate a platform that moves across a cavern. And because there's not really much to do on the platform, I just kind of mess around, try to give the viewer anxiety. Almost falling off, but not really. And there is a way you can skip this cavern, but you can only do that using double jump, so it's only really applicable to the 40 Dark Gem category, where you actually have double jump at this point. But we don't at this point. So, yeah, This game has a very, very generous coyote time, as it's called. That's the time where you can still jump after you leave a platform, as you can see. And also sometimes when you charge onto a ledge, Spyro will just bonk on thin air. I did that just to mess around. So, now we have to activate the cutscene that leads us into the next realm. And to do that, I actually jump into the wall here at the end of Nasty's cave. And for some reason, that is actually the fastest way to activate this cutscene. You don't just charge to the end of the tunnel. I think it's because the cutscene trigger is a sphere that's emanating from the teleporter here, and it leads through the wall in a weird way. But yeah, that's how we activate the final cutscene, or not the final cutscene, but the professor cutscene here. So yeah, there's a long stretch of cutscenes coming up, as is tradition with the Hero's Tale. So I think I'll take this time to explain how water works in this game, because it's not exactly like the other games in the series. So, kind of like the Reignited trilogy, the water in this game is kind of a body. It's not just a water plane. More accurately, every water surface has like a sort of hitbox that extends downward around 9 times Spyro's height. So you can hit water from below. And if you enter the water from any direction, Spyro will enter what I call his surface water state. Where he like swims around on the surface. Even if you didn't actually hit the surface of the water, he'll just kind of pretend like he did while slowly floating upwards. But if you then dive, you enter his underwater state. And while in his underwater state, if you exit the water hitbox from this bottom or the sides, which you cannot normally do unless you go out of bounds, which we will, Spyro will not exit the water. He will keep on swimming, and that's why swimming in air glitches are possible. That's because he doesn't actually exit the water state upon exiting the water in that fashion. So, upon finishing Nasty Nork, I left the fight with blue sparks, or like 1 hit point from full health. And I have to get full health for Neptune, which is the next boss, and it's actually quicker to grab a bit of fodder on the way there. So I actually, conveniently, there's a little hermit crab that gets in our way. And so I'll just quickly kill that. And funny enough, the camera actually has to be pointed at the butterflies for Sparks to eat them. So I do a little spin there to move the camera a bit. And then we immediately just go and squeeze ourselves between some objects that push us through the wall. We hit some water that emanates from an area that's far above us. And then we simply just swim directly to the boss. Directly to Neptune. And the funny thing about Neptune is that unlike the other bosses in this game, you can actually start this boss by just entering the arena. And you don't have to watch the intro cutscene. It's the only boss where that's possible. I don't know why, but yeah. Anyway, so I'll also be damage booging a lot in this boss. You'll see me get hit by a lot of the attacks, and also this laser that pops up. I'll just get hit by it immediately. Yeah. Okay, so you might be wondering, how am I able to like jump off the water, seemingly? Basically, if you walk off a ledge and there's a surface beneath Spyro, any surface, that it can be water or anything, Spyro is still able to jump because he's still in his walking state. Because the game doesn't want you to like constantly fall as you walk downstairs and such. So you can jump off water that way. So here, as you can see, I technically died. I got hit while I had no health remaining. And anyway, this is acid water, so it would actually have killed me immediately. But platform was rising, and it actually cancelled the hit stun enemy. And that means that the death animation doesn't get to play at all. And that means even though I don't have any health to spend on damage abuses, I can still skip the lasers by doing this little trick. So yeah, I'm gonna suicide at the next phase again. Every phase of a Neptune is the same, but I try to keep it varied by introducing like different different varying amounts of trickery during each phase to like make it more and more weird. So again, getting hit by the lasers as soon as possible and just messing around, because again, there's a lot of downtime during these bosses. So sometimes a Neptune will like to throw these acid bombs, these like balls that she likes to throw at you. But they actually despawn as soon as they hit the water. So sometimes I lure them close to the water and they just despawn immediately, which is very fun. So you will also see me get hit by her breath attack, and attack her immediately after. Unfortunately, the direction that you get ejected by this attack is not random, but it is very unpredictable. So sometimes I get hit a bit too far away from her to attack her immediately, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, and as you can see here, I redirect her breath while just standing on the other side of her. And that allows me to stay very close to her while she finishes her little attack, so I can attack her back immediately. It's only when I don't have any health remaining I do that at the end of the phase. Right, so for third phase, just more of the same, but I will show off an NTSC exclusive glitch during the laser attacks here. Basically, during some animations, Spyro cannot interact with water, and one of those animations is his breath from Standstill Animation, or his the animation where he breathes fire or any breath while standing still. And as you can see, it just allows him to just dip below the water, and also he gets carried all the way up again without getting hit by the water. And I honestly can't really explain that. I think it's because the platform below him rises constantly, and so it cancels the hitbox, because water can be cancelled by solid surfaces. So if there's a solid surface between Spyro and some water, he won't interact with the water. So, and here I just do the death abuse, the animation cancel to skip the death animation so I can keep living. I do it twice every phase for fun. You only need to do it once every phase. But this is a TAS, so I can try over and over again, and not have to worry about like risky strats or anything. That was the Neptune done. So yeah, and we're gonna learn water breath, which is useless, not only in the casual game, but we literally won't use it at all in this task. Yeah, we skipped most of this game, in case you didn't realize it. Anyway,
Spyro, thank you for releasing me. As a token
so
of
the
gratitude,
cutscene trigger that we
I'll grant you
skipped
the power
by going into this boss, it's actually still there. If we go back the way it is intended for you to, you will hit the water, you will hit the cutscene trigger, and it'll act as if you haven't beaten a Neptune yet, for some reason. Anyway, so here I do a little water bonk clip. I basically surface and then bonk as soon as I exit the water, and that basically just clips me out of bounds immediately, so we can swim directly to the teleporter. I need to do that again to avoid the cutscene trigger that we left behind, but also because it's just faster to swim directly to the thing. We're gonna reach the third realm, Icy Wilderness, and here, for some reason, when you reach this realm, Spyro automatically learns double jump and pole spin, which is two abilities that we completely just bypassed in round 1, because we skipped directly to the boss. I don't really know why he learns these abilities here, and I don't really know why any abilities from realm 2 aren't learned through this realm, but whatever, it makes the next sections much faster and more entertaining, so I can't complain. When the game has jank, you just have to accept it, and if it's faster, then yeah, just let it be there. Don't question it. So, coming up is one of the more exciting glitches in this task. It's the menu storage. So basically, if you activate two menus at on the same frame, so for example, in this TAS's case, I stand on the teleporter and I enter the teleporter menu at the same frame that I pause the game. And what's that gonna do? What that's gonna do is that it's gonna leave two menus on the screen at the same time, and you can exit one of these menus, and that will unpause the game, so you can run around and do stuff. But the the other menu is still active. So here you can see I have the pause menu active while I move around, and I do some wall grinding to enter Red's chamber quickly. Again, I just skipped directly to the boss. This game is broken. So whether cutscenes has been triggered or not are saved to your save file, and that's why I've made a save file at the beginning of this task. I wanted to make sure that I could save the game, and then reload the save. Because as you can see, the instant the cutscene started, I saved the game through the options menu that I now have open. You can't normally pause during cutscenes. And then I just reload the save immediately, and because the game saved that I had already triggered the cutscene is essentially skipped. Because again, the game thinks I've already triggered it, and I just reloaded the save. So that's the only cutscene that can be skipped with this method, which I will explain why in a bit. But so here, normally you can't like double jump or charge on ice. But there's a very small amount of non-icy ground on the edge of this arena, lining the spikes. So I can use that to mess around while Red does his business. It's very precise. If you run a bit further outward, Spyro will hit the spikes, but if you run further inward, you will hit the ice and just slow to a crawl. So it's very precise, but it doesn't really save time. I just mess around using it. Here, I get close to Red so that he performs this like fire breath attack, and that's slightly faster than letting him stomp on the ground. So the way I optimize hitting the boxes into Red when he spawns these explosive boxes that you have to push into him. Basically, as soon as Red's damage animation ends, that's when he's able to take damage. So that's what I optimize to do. I basically push them, and as soon as they hit him, his damage animation has ended so that he takes damage. So in the third phase, this is a very long one, and not much happens. It's just a bunch of miscellaneous attacks, and I can grind a bit on the edge of the arena to double jump for some reason, and explore the outskirts of the arena while Red messes around in there. We'll let him have his fun. While I explain why we can't use this menu storage other places in the run to... we can't use this menu storage other places in the run to skip other cutscenes. For the like intermission cutscenes between realms, they just don't load if you have the menu on screen for some reason. They will only get to play when you exit that menu, and then you of course can't use the menu storage thing. For Neptune, well, we already skipped her cutscene, as you saw. Don't really need anything for that. But for the last boss, that's a bit of a mystery, because I couldn't get it to save to the save file that I had activated the cutscene for some reason. It's a bit of a bummer, but I'm glad that I could at least show off this glitch in one boss. So yeah, anyway. Now we get Ice Breath, which if you've played this game before, you will know that it is the most overpowered breath in the game. So basically Ice Breath, in case you didn't know, is that you can freeze enemies into ice blocks, and when you charge through them, they will instantly die, and your charge won't be like broken, you won't bonk or anything. And that's a blessing in a speedrun setting, because you can just like spend a few frames breathing ice at the enemies and then just continue charging, so they won't really cost you much time at all. If it saves more time to run around the enemy, I will of course do that, but overall, enemies in our way won't really pose any time loss at all. Here, we have to swing on the poles, which is kind of slow, so I just try to use some tricky movement to get past most of these poles without having to land on them and jump from them. They're kind of slow, so yeah, fast poles. Anyway, so now we're on to the last realm. The last realm is kind of unique, not only because of how the last boss is. I will explain how the last boss functions when we get there, but the final realm is like a gauntlet of linear levels. It takes up like a third of the whole run, because there's just so much to go through. There's like a huge amount of ground that you have to cover. And we do that mostly by swimming in air, of course. Because this is a Spyro game, and it wouldn't be a Spyro game without swimming in air. So, there's not a lot of cutscene coming up, so there's actually quite a lot of gameplay to explain, especially towards the end. But actually not in this first part, because it's just a bunch of swimming in air, swimming out of bounds. I just have to correctly hit the loading zones so that the next areas load. So, I'll first start out by doing this water bonk clip at the very start. As you can see, just immediately get out of bounds. And then we're off to on our little watery adventure. Anyway, I want to quickly explain the timing of this game, of this TAS. So, TASes, in general, tool-assisted speedruns are timed using a standardized rule set. Basically, timing starts upon the game booting, and it ends when the last input that needs to be hit to finish the game is over. So my goal is actually not to finish the game as fast as possible, it's to finish the input file as fast as possible while also beating the game, and that'll come into play at the very end. Now, it's different from real-time standard rule sets, which says that timing starts upon you gaining control of Spyro at the beginning of the run, and then it ends upon losing control of Spyro at the end of the run, like right after you beat the final boss. So here we reach an elevator shaft, and we don't really take the elevator, it's too slow. So instead we hit the loading zone up here, and then we just swim down. The game is perfectly fine with us just swimming down the elevator shaft. It'll load the area just fine. It'll have some heavy lag though. And then we're gonna enter this ball gadget. There's not a whole lot you can do to speed this up though. It's kind of a on-rail level. Really all I can do is hold the boost button throughout the whole thing. This is also the first time you see Ball Gadget, by the way. Yeah, it's one of the methods of moving around you can access through playing the game, but this is the only part that we actually have to play. Spyro Balls. Thank you, Mookley, for that comment. So there is one comment... Wait, what? Okay, I had a brain fart. There's one frame perfect jump right there, which I do, which skips collecting the light gem. It doesn't save or lose any time, I just thought it was neat, because it's frame perfect, and this is a TAS, and of course, I had to do it. So you can walk on lava in this game, did I say that before? Basically, a single frame of Spyro, I hear his tail, and wait, what? My brain is not having a good day. So a single frame of Spyro's gliding animation, he's invulnerable to lava. So you can see me jump in a very specific way there, and I do that a couple times throughout this level to skip having to go on these platforms. So as you can see, just walking in lava, because I hit the wall lava at an exact frame. So Dust, your comment on low percent, actually. The game can actually be beaten without collecting any light gems, dragon eggs, dark gems, or gems in general. You can beat this game without collecting anything at all. So that's actually pretty cool, but it's not really too different from the 80% route to show off. Anyway, So, to get to Dark Mine, you can go with these very slow-moving platforms, or you can do the TAS method, which is you hit the loading zone, or they hit the loading trigger, and then immediately just dive down onto the lava. The loading trigger is quite a ways above the lava, so you can't activate the lava walk immediately. But after you hit the loading trigger, you can just dive down, use the lava walk, and charge directly to into the entrance of Dark Mine. And speaking of Dark Mine, this level will be over very quickly because I'll just do a bunch of out-of-bounds jumps by wall grinding. And conveniently, the developers placed the exit of the level very close to the entrance. So we can just kind of jump directly to the end of the level. And we're gonna backtrack a little bit to hit the loading trigger. And then we are just off to Red's lab. There's a lot of running until we get to Red's laboratory, and I'll explain a little trick that I've been using this whole time. So every time you see me, pretty much every time you see me do a single jump, I'm holding the charge button at the same time, which will basically make Spyro have a bit of extra momentum into his single jump. It's called charge hopping. And I use this to basically make it past ledges, make it over jumps a bit faster, and just generally have faster airborne movement. So, in Red's laboratory, you're gonna see me kill some enemies that are in my way, no, that are not in my way, but I have to kill them in order to open doors that are locked otherwise. And there you just saw me wall grind past a small platforming section. Just casually doing that, because wall grinding it's the most powerful glitch in this game. You can basically go anywhere you want. Anyway, so how on earth do I glitch to the last boss in this game? Well, this level wasn't as sturdily built as you might think, because there's just a wall here that doesn't have any collision. You can just walk right through it and glide directly to the boss. Yeah, that's the kind of perfectly placed jank I love. This is the only wall in this area that doesn't have any collision, and it just happens to be right next to the boss. So you can just, yeah, Mecha Red is chilling there before the cutscene starts. He's preloaded into the area. So I didn't want to spoil his name before, but this is Mecha Red we're gonna fight. Red foolishly tests Spyro's abilities, and he gets knocked into his own creation, which turns him into a robot, which accidentally makes him stronger. Classic move there, Spyro. Anyway, so as I said before, Realm 4's boss, Mecha Red, is actually kind of unique in that, unlike the other three bosses, there are no checkpoints or cutscenes between the three phases. You just kind of keep going. And that also means I can't die at the beginning of each phase just to refill my health. I have to actually make sure I have enough health throughout the whole thing. And I need 4 hit points to optimally beat this boss. So what I do is that I actually die at the very beginning of the boss to spawn a butterfly. And that will make sure that I can replenish a hit point during the fight, so that I have 4 hit points to spare. Anyway, so here's the first damage abuse, and if you get hit by in a certain way by Mecha Red, you get launched far into the air, which is very fun. Anyway, so I just kind of mess around on the edge of the arena, just again giving the viewer anxiety. That's one of the most fun parts about a TAS. These missiles. Again, I abuse the fact that all you need to like hit something with fire breath is a single particle. So you can see like I barely hit these missiles with the fire breath. Yeah, so it's just a tiny bit of fire. Almost glitch into that area. We'll visit that area soon. Don't worry. The underside of the arena is not solid, so you can just clip into it like that. You can hit these electric nodes before they pop up from the ground. As you saw, I just did the electric breath through the ground for a bit there. So now we're gonna visit the place where the professor is supposedly hiding in. The glass has been magically repaired, so we have to get through the bottom of the non-solid floor. We can't stay here for long, so we're gonna go through the door back to the arena. And of course, I mean under the door. The door won't actually open for us. So anyway, here I manipulate RNG slightly to get the to manipulate the switch position here, and I hit it immediately so that these Norks begin to fire at red instead of me. And then I have picked 2 Norks and I continually stun them so that they fire as fast as possible. And time. That's the timing stopped for the TAS because that's the last input needed to finish the run. That's why he stands still for a bit there, because that's the only that's the only enemy manipulation you need to do to finish the fight in that phase as fast as possible. So that, yeah, that's it. That's the time. The actual timing is 33 minutes, 44 seconds, and 52 milliseconds. Or actually, it's 520 milliseconds. And so that's actually pretty slow okay, not actually, but it is not that much faster than the RTA world record, but reminder that this is TAS timing, so real time. RTA stands for real time attack, so that's the real time runs. In real timing, it's 31 minutes, 16 seconds, 500 milliseconds. So that's a very quick. For the reference, the RTA world record is 34 minutes and 47 seconds by Edu. Edu himself, he's in the chat. Say hello. And also by in another perspective, this TAS is actually faster in the TAS timing than the old TAS was in RTA timing. So it's like an improvement of around 2.5 minutes from the last TAS. It's such a large improvement from the last TAS. I'm really I with how this TAS turned out. It was 6 months of work, and of course it's not perfect. No TAS is perfect. I'm probably gonna try again another time. It's not gonna be as huge of an improvement, but yeah, it was a huge fun putting this thing together. I consulted a lot of people in the Spyro speedrunning community. Shout out to Dustiel, who gave me a lot of insight into a bunch of risky strats sometimes. He let me know that. He basically gave me that idea of skipping Dark Mine, or skipping the passage to Dark Mine by using that lava walk thing. Shout out to G-Pro, who has been a huge support. He also proofread the script to the commentated version of my task, which is going on YouTube after this run is over, after this segment is over. And shout out to Edu, who's the RTA world record holder. And he has been a huge support. He's been hyping up this task for a long time. He couldn't wait to see the end result, and I hope you're satisfied with what I've shown you. And also a huge shout out to everyone in the Spyro Hero's Tale Discord server, which I have. There's not a lot of people in there, but every one of the people in there are just wonderful people. I love them. It's such a wonderful place. So yeah, I don't really have much else to say.
Well, all right. Thank you very much, Ebbe. What an amazing task. Thank you for showing that and making that for us for this Spyrothon. I'm really looking forward to see what you do with this game in the future.
Good thing, man. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Yes, thank you. All right, guys, and so that concludes our task block of Spyrothon, our one long task block, a very special task block, I must say. That concludes it, but we are just coming in on the final stretch of Spyrothon 2021. Coming up next, we have a handheld relay. It's a 5-game any percent relay race, back-to-back races of all 5. I only thought there were 2 Game Boy Advance games, but apparently there's 3 more. So if you're curious about that, it's going to have a bunch of people: 2% Milk, CD, Romatron, Bread Ghost, RDA, CS, Scotty W, Lovebot, and First Maple. A bunch of familiar names to me, and I hope they are to you as well. If not, stick around and you'll get a chance to see them. And with that, guys, that's going to conclude my hosting for today. But my name's Deo Man, and stick around till later tonight. At the very end, we're going to be doing a 120% race to kick off the end of the marathon. And I just want to say I love you guys in the chat here, all my Spyro fans here. If you're a fan of Spyro, if you grew up with this game, post a cute emote, show some love, and I will talk to you guys in the future. Oh, and check this out. We have a special little clip for you right here. Once again, I'm Deo. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Hi there, my name is Mike, and you are watching Spyrothon.